All right, hello everyone. Thank you for coming in, checking us out back at Our Forum podcast. I am really excited about this episode. First, I want to thank everyone that has been checking us out on the other episodes, giving us all the likes and making sure that you guys are giving us the positive feedback. We really appreciate that. That's why we're going to just kind of continue on. As long as you guys continue giving us those feedbacks and those likes, and we understand that, you know, it's something that is necessary, we will continue to put this message out there and stuff. I am very excited right now to start off our Phenomenal Women's episodes for March. Our first episode is with Miss Karen. Please, y'all give it up for Miss Karen. Give it up, y'all. Give it up. Hey. Miss Karen just flew in. She just got off the plane not too long ago, and she's made it all the way over here to our podcast to deliver a very important message. So I'll step back right now. I'll give her a few minutes to introduce herself, and then we'll get to know Miss Karen a little more. Miss Karen, please introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. This is amazing. My name is Karen Pilgrim. I am born and raised from Brooklyn, New York. I come from a West Indian background of Trinidadians and Grenadians.
All right.
I went to college in Michigan. Got married at a very early age, got divorced at a very early age. Okay. I have 6 kids, 6 grown kids, and in college or on their own doing their thing.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm a grandmother of 2 and another one on the way. And, through a journey of challenges, I ended up starting a business called Vision Vegan Soul, which... going from working with corrections and then transitioning over to education, I felt like our young people are misdirected. A lot of our kids don't have direction, and I felt like I needed to start something that I can help them map out their future. Because if I can at least help my children to go to school and follow a path of greatness, even though you don't have to choose school, right, but you need a plan. And Vision Vegan Soul, I do vision boards. I call them action boards, but vision boards are a way to put your dreams on paper and let it manifest. The vegan is how I eat, but it's also how I live my life.
Nice.
Good things in and good things out. And the soul is just that extra flavor I bring to the table. So with all those components, you find clarity for your life and you plan the best life ever.
Oh, that sounds great. So, Ms. Karen, if we could take a step back, I heard you say corrections.
Yes.
And so, there's a lot of buzz around how the correction system has to be repaired. There was a lot of light brought to the correction with the documentary that Jay-Z did. What was that experience like? Like, what was it? Did you see truly like the impact that the correctional system is having on our Black and brown kids? Yes,
I did. I was a recreational director. Mm-hmm. Upstate New York. I don't want to call out any names, but when the kids transition up there, the thing that I found unfair is a lot of our children were transitioned without their parents knowing where they were at. Wow. So if you were a child wandering on the streets, the police can't pick you up and transition you upstate. You'll get a phone call, but that's after you get some fingerprinted and processed and all that good stuff. And sometimes a family member will not know how to go about locating their child, which is number one sign that our system has a crack somewhere. And when I would take time to sit with the kids, which administration said, oh, you're too nice to the kids, you're too this. And when I would sit down and have a conversation with them and found out they're normal kids, they just ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time, or just following the wrong crowd. And all the boys that I would meet, because I worked with boys, I would tell them it takes 1 second to get in trouble and a lifetime to clear your name. So you have to make a decision of who you're going to be around and make the right decision to go the right way, because if you go the wrong way, it's a wrap. And when it comes to corrections, our brown and black boys, they get lost in the system. I worked on utilizing my recreational degree in helping them with their social skills. Wow. So I kind of snuck in on them. Yes, you're here, but let's start planning for when you get out. eye contact, how to shake somebody's hand. When the police pulls you over, what to do, what to say, instead of getting irate, getting upset, and getting yourself in more trouble. So it was a little bit of a way to sneak some information on them that they didn't typically get because they're hanging out or they're hanging out with the wrong crowd. So after 17 years of working in corrections and group homes, I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
I can't do this
Was it
anymore.
taking a toll on you?
It was taking a toll on me because when you go past those gates, not only are you locking them up, you're locking yourself up.
That's true.
So your mindset, if you don't have a balance, you just start breaking down. And I had 6 kids at home that I still had to go home to. So a lot of times when I read the files of the kids that were coming in, it shocked me because I didn't grow up that way. So when you're seeing the abuse these kids are going through, or even a good child that's there, but didn't have a relationship with their parent and then start seeking out the gangs and whoever will pay attention to them, it just started to eat me up inside. And when I was making headway with trying to teach these kids how to do better, how to eat better, it was a threat to administration. I got a piece of land right in the facility and I started teaching the kids how to garden. Become one with the ground and let's have a conversation. When you get a child and the earth together and they start digging, of course they're going to be like, Miss Karen, this is corny. I don't want to be out here. But I start showing them how to sow a seed, how to grow it, how to mature it. And when they come out on the field and they start seeing the little bud and that mustard seed just starts growing.
And that's from their work, right?
From their work.
Yeah.
So if we all as a unit start to plant seed in our kids, it's amazing what they could turn out to be.
You mentioned, Ms. Karen, that folks started seeing it as a threat. Talk a little bit to our listeners that are possibly in situations where they're going in to help to make changes, but then those changes begin to be looked at differently by others that are in power and stuff. Like, how were you able to manage through that?
So one thing you have to understand with the education system and also with corrections, when you're going into these facilities and you're feeling great about your mission, they have to understand money is involved.
Right.
And when it comes to corrections, there's a lot of medication that's given. The more medication that's given is the more funding they get. The more labels you give these children, ADD, all these other letters that they want to add on to them, it's more money that they're being funded. Me as a person that's coming in to do things holistically, I'm a threat. Because when I tell them, when you're getting angry, just stop, meditate, close your eyes, breathe. Right. They don't want them to know those little tools.
Right, because you're impacting the bottom line now, right?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
I'm getting to the root of things. And as educators or as mentors, we come in with a plan to change the system or to change the kids. It's not realistic. But if we can change at least one child's world, we've made a difference. But a lot of people come in there with these expectations that we're going to just change everything and the administration is going to follow us. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're going to, and I hate to say this, but there's always a way to try to make you the scapegoat.
Right.
If they see fights are less, kids are doing better, they're communicating, then they start asking, well, what are they doing that's making this better? Because now funding starts to get cut.
Right, because your agenda and their agenda is totally different, right?
Exactly.
So you're dealing with the same population, but you have different goals.
Exactly.
And so if your goal starts to be more successful, it starts to impact their goals, right?
There's no money promotion, there's a demotion.
Right. Got it. And so if you're thinking about our listeners and they say, wow, wait a minute, but she did this for 17 years and she had babies at home and she had kids at home. For me, I'm assuming that their first question is, how did she balance that? Like, what was that balance like?
The balance for me, because my kids were a year apart, like right now they're 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, and 22. I had to organize everything from them waking up 7 a.m. to doing their schooling, because in the beginning, I homeschooled them.
Amazing.
And then everything had to be organized, down to them being color-coded.
Right.
You have to have a system in place, but you also have to have self-care. Because when you're going into a situation where you're working in corrections, you have to go in with the right mindset. And it's the same thing as going into education. You have those kids that get on your nerves.
That's right.
But you have to have that mindset that you have to start tweaking things in your head. Before you hit that door, you have to say, you know what, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going in here and I'm going to change lives. It may be rough, but you got to put a smile on your face because we don't know what staff is going through. We don't know what the kids are going through, but you have to maintain and check yourself before you enter that building.
That's amazing. And would you say one of the key things is also when you go into these facilities, schools, and you're dealing with the kids, you genuinely have to care about each and every one of them, right?
Absolutely.
It can't be just a job, right? It can't be just a job.
It's not just a job. It's not having your favorites because you go to college for 4 years. My degree was physical therapy. I did nothing in physical therapy. Then I went back to school and got a recreational degree. All my children are in sports. That's an easy way to attach to the kids. I am certified in every sport, from basketball, volleyball, softball. I do it all. But when you take those tools that you learn from school and you can intertwine it with what you do in a classroom, it just makes it easier for you to work. Mm-hmm. When you're going into work and you see you don't have the tools that you have to work with, or you are a so-called, I'm just hypothetically, you're the singing teacher and you don't have a piano, you don't have a music box. Guess what? Improvise. You got to start using your body. Start discussing the history of music. You got to be creative, because when we're walking through those doors, we're coming with a purpose, and you make it your passion. Mm-hmm. We can't come in there complaining, because then everything goes downhill. It doesn't make sense. And I always tell people, if you're not happy being here, then leave.
Exactly. Because
then you're blocking somebody's blessing. There's somebody waiting for that position to make a difference in a child's life.
Exactly. So 17 years goes by, you're in corrections, and you say, okay, that's it. I can't no more. This is too much. What's your next step, Ms. Karen?
Well, my next step right now, I have Vision Vegan Soul, which I am passionate about. It sounds like a crazy name to many people, but when I do action boards, it changes lives.
Right.
And yes, it makes money, but at the same time, I do a lot of donating my time and volunteering, because I feel like it's a message that everyone needs, from kindergarten on up to college and senior citizens, because you need a plan in life. If you don't want to go to college, be an entrepreneur. But we got to take steps. So I showed them how to start backwards and work their way up. So with our students right now, I haven't gotten a chance to really get in and do my dream vision board party with them. But what I do in schools is I go in and I speak to the kids about just processing. If you're going to college, a lot of our parents don't discuss these little things. If you're going to college, do you want to go to an all-black school or a mixed school? Do you want to go to a small school or a large school? Do you want to be in a cold climate or a warm climate? These are things we need to know before we land on the campus and then be like, they're racist. I hate it here. There's no black boys, no black girl. So we got to have those conversations at home. So what I do with families is, when they pay me to come in their house and do a family vision board, I take the family name. Let's just use you for example. Mr. Leo, we're going to put your name in the middle, and you're going to tell me, you know what, I want to travel more with my family. So what I'll do is a whole exercise to get you in that mindset of where you want to go. When you land there, what is it you want to do? Do you want to go to museums? Do you want to tour? But every place you want to go, you want to make a difference. Anything you do in life, you need to leave your mark on earth. Because I tell everybody, what if you had 24 hours to live? What would you want to do? So all of that goes on an action board.
That's great. And where did it, for you, I mean, to me it sounded like this was something that you were doing all your life, because you talked about how you had to be so structured with the kids working in these facilities, and you had to be structured everything. You had to kind of envision everything 3 days, a month, weeks, years ahead, and kind of plan for it and stuff like that. But where was that moment that you say, you know what, I'm going to now package this in a certain way now and start to present this?
Okay.
Where was that?
That is a great question. So I've been vision boarding all the time, not realizing it was something, it was a thing. And after 23 years of marriage, my husband changed his mind. And when I say changed his mind, he was like, can't do this no more.
Right.
You know, anybody else, they're breaking down, cracking, whatever. Yes, it took me 2 years to recover, but at the same time, I had to love myself enough to know that it's going to be all right. So I started just taking words and pictures and just laying it out. And I'm like, you know what? I would never have this feeling again. This is what's going to happen. And I started mapping it out. And I have a mentor, and his name is Eric Thomas. Everybody knows him as E.T., the hip hop preacher. Him and Mr. Quest Green, they give me a call and they're like, yo, I heard you got divorced, because we were like the it couple. And I said, yeah, I got divorced. He was like, well, girl, you got a story. I was like, I'm not telling nobody my story. This is embarrassing. I'm Karen Pilgrim. And he said, no, you got to tell this story. So after he said that, I started like ripping out different pictures and just putting it out on a board. And my first speaking engagement was at a shelter, a women's shelter. And I said, I'm going to try this out. So I walk in there, asked him if I could volunteer to tell my story. I tell my story, and I'm telling, my husband, he broke my heart, and I'm sad, and I made this boy. And these ladies are like, sis, you're going to be all right. My husband threw me down the stairs and broke my arm. And I'm sitting there like, what? And I'm crying over some man that left me. Oh, my goodness. But they told me, they said, your words empowered me to let me know that it's going to be all right. And she said, I'm going to get a magazine and I'm going to start pulling out pictures. So I was like, oh, they really listening to me.
Yeah.
So when I called E and I told Quest, and I'm like, yo, this is working. They said, now start reaching out to schools. I went to a college to speak, and I'm telling the kids about finding their passion and their purpose, and this is what happened. Now I have my blessing. And they said, so you got a degree in vision boarding? I was like, oh.
What? What's that?
Okay. I said, you know what? Everybody stop everything. Look on your computers and see if there's a college that has a degree in vision boarding. They looked it up. There's a certification and a license that you can get. So when they read it, they said, the person that certifies you is Oprah Winfrey's vision board lady. Her name is Joyce Schwartz. So I was like, are you kidding me? I said, give me the number. Go back to my hotel room. There's these 16 numbers. It says Hollywood, California. I start calling every one of them. Hi, Joyce. This is Karen Pilgrim. I'm excited. I want to get this license. No answer. 2 weeks later, I get this phone call, and she's like, is this Karen Pilgrim? I said, yeah. I said, Karen Pilgrim. It's Karen Pilgrim from Brooklyn, New York. She said, I am so excited. You got me so energized that I'm going to certify you myself.
Really?
And I said, I said, hold on, is this Joyce Schwartz like Oprah Winfrey? She said, yes, it is. She said, I work with Ava DuVernay, and I'm going to certify you myself. She certifies me. I get the certificate, and it added zeros onto my checks.
All right, Ms. Karen, so basically, you went probably from one of the most negative moments in your life, right?
Yes.
You took that, you went through it. You said it took you 2 years or whatever it was. But then you started to take steps out, right?
Yes.
And then when you started to take steps out, the blessings started to come, right?
The blessings started to come. But once you start getting those blessings, then you have to start building a team.
Right.
Because I knew this could be something special, but then I had to reach out and get an entrepreneurship coach. And I had to get a motivating coach. So I had Eric and I had David Shands. David Shands is known as the entrepreneurship guru. He started saying, just get some names that make you happy. Think of those things you like to do. I said, I love vision boards and I like vegan lifestyle. He was like, no, that's not going to work. And I said, yes, it is. Yes. He said, well, if you're passionate about it,
make it work.
You make it work.
Make it work.
So now it's starting to flow off of people's tongues. Vision Vegan Soul, Vision Vegan Soul. And out of that, I've grown umbrellas under it. I do a prison program where I go into the prison and I teach them how to do vision boards, but I'm not allowed to bring in construction paper, scissors, or glue. So I bring in pillowcases and I have them write their dreams out on the pillowcase. I take the bottom half. When you get discharged, we sew it back together when you get out. Nice. So I call it Dreams Beyond the Bars. Nice. And they get to sleep on their dreams.
And I was really happy to hear you talk about you finding your story, right? So a lot of folks that I mentor, when they are looking for career changes and they're about to start the process of kind of getting that resume together, out there going to these interviews, the things that I give them advice about is, everybody's resume kind of looks the same, right? They look at it. And so when you go into these interviews, the thing that's going to stand out is how you present your story.
Yes.
Like, they're going to read what's on the resume. You don't have to repeat what's on the resume. What you have to do now is understand your story and explain it and pitch it in a way that they like, wow, this person is very passionate. Mm-hmm. He or she has gone through some things. And from what I'm hearing, they're on the other side of it now. Yeah. And now this is a great positive. This is something that now we can really tap into and bring on to our school, our company, and stuff like that. How important, Ms. Karen, is finding your story? Your story.
Finding my story is so empowering because you have to be transparent. Mm-hmm. I try to tell everyone, when you tell your story, you're saving a life. If you keep your story to yourself, somebody's going to die.
Yep.
Honestly. So being truthful with your story, sharing your story, is going to change a life, and being as transparent as possible. When people are revamping their life, they really have to check themselves and take ownership of things that have gone wrong. Like I could say, oh, my marriage went wrong because he didn't want me. No. When I sat down and started loving me and started writing down what I could have done better, I wasn't communicating. There were things that were going on that I should have nipped in the bud, but I allowed it to go on because I didn't want an argument. I didn't spend time with him. You understand? I had 6 kids. Not that I'm taking blame for the full thing.
But you're recognizing what things were there.
Yes,
right?
Yes. And you have to be honest with yourself. When you start to be honest with yourself, and I ask everybody to take time out and write these things down. Because when you visually see it, you can correct it. Mm-hmm. If you go on doing the same thing over and over, you're going to get the same results. Mm-hmm. But if you tweak it and change it, it'll change the whole outcome of what the future has for you.
Well, you have 6 kids, right? Like you said. What do you think? How do they see vision boarding? And has vision boarding helped them and stuff like that? Like, what does it mean to them?
It's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke. I'm just being honest. When you yourself is doing it, right, it takes their friends to say, "Oh my goodness, mm-hmm, my mother's really doing that." No lie. I went to this forum called what is it called? Cornrows and Cocktails.
Okay.
Amazing forum. And I stood up to say something, and these young ladies, they were like, oh my goodness, I love what you say. So they're taking pictures and putting it on Instagram, mm-hmm, and it's all my daughter's friends. I didn't realize that. They went to University of Albany with them. So my daughters are sending me messages like, oh, my mother's being a mixie. Oh, tell them stop sweating my mom. But when I tell my kids, let's sit down and do a vision board, they're like, I don't have time for it.
Right.
There's one out of the 6 that has done one, and she's living that dream. Mm-hmm. She's in California. She's living the life that she wanted. And I keep telling the others, if you map out your future, I'm telling you. But I can't force it on them. They have to come for me.
Right. Like it has to be something that they own.
Yes.
Right? And then when they own that process, they'll get the most out of it. Because like anything, once a child is like, okay, I'm going to do this for mom, I'm going to do this for dad, they never get the best out of it and stuff. So I absolutely agree.
You're going to find it also. You're doing a great thing here, mm-hmm, and the people you thought would come and support you, they're not going to support you.
Right.
Not saying that that's wrong. It's just not their season.
Right.
But the people that you're closest, and while you're making your play, you're like, oh, he's going to be down, she's going to be down. Mm-hmm. They're like, no. You just got to have thick skin and keep it moving, and they'll catch on eventually. No,
and that's what I've been experiencing. And we've been doing this for a little while now, but we're kind of like now in the last year have officially kind of like started putting the paperwork around things and really kind of, get everything legitimized and everything. And you're absolutely right. You do get folks that you think are kind of diving in with you, and, mm-hmm, and once they see that this thing is kind of taking off in a certain direction, like you said, it's just maybe not their time yet, mm-hmm, to come fully on board, right? But then you also get those folks where you had no idea that they would support, and then all of a sudden they're like your biggest supporters, right, and stuff, right? They just come out of nowhere, so you get a mix of a little bit of everything and stuff, you mm-hmm, know. And Ms. Karen, if you could talk about a little bit of just like when we're working with folks, right? We're working with communities and we're working all these things and stuff like that. What type of weight does it start to take on you and stuff? When you're seeing all that needs to be done, mm-hmm, in the community and stuff. One of our challenges with our organization and with our team is that there's just so much that needs to be done, mm-hmm, and we all want to do some of all of it, right? We want to do clothing drives, we want to help kids go into college, we want to do this, we want to do a basketball tournament, we want to do this and stuff like that. And then you're seeing so much that needs, because when you start looking, the mm-hmm, more you start looking, the more you start to see how much is needed.
Yes.
And so how do you keep your focus? How do you make sure that you have everything, that you have the resource and things that you need, and being focused to do everything and stuff?
I apologize, everybody. This is real life.
If you can't just squeeze that phone. Can you get Miss K her phone, please?
Just squeeze the side.
That might be Oprah calling. That might be
I like that. I like that. So, once again, everything that I speak on, I have to bring vision boarding, action boarding into it. I would say personally, and I'm just going to use you as an example. You take the name of your business, put it. You could put it on your wall. I have a vision wall. Put it there, and then put everything that you want to do, whatever you and your team want to do. Put it on the wall, and then focus on one thing, and build that up. Right. Because the community is going to go by your actions. They're not going to go by your words. It's your actions. So find that one thing the community really needs right now. If it's food, if it's clothing, if it's a basketball team, what is it that we can pull everybody together? From there, you're going to take some of those community leaders that show up for that one event and put them in another lane and say, okay, we need your help with this, and let them master that. Right. Because people want to be a part of something.
Absolutely.
But you need to focus on one thing. Once you let that flourish, everything else is going to fall into place.
No, that's sound advice, Ms. Karen. And I think that's where our focus is going to be. We're going to kind of really look around and just figure out, okay, what is it that we can focus on? And also just kind of, as a team, making sure that we are giving each other the shared responsibilities of things as well, too, making sure that everybody's carrying, certain weights and things like that, so not one person is kind of getting burnt out or having too much on their plate. So that's really solid advice. I really appreciate that.
You as a leader have to learn to delegate.
Right.
Because you will get burnt out. Right. And you as a creator, I know you're going to bed with a whole bunch of ideas on your head. Keep a notebook on the side of your bed to dump. You have to do a brain dump, or else you won't sleep.
No, I know. There's times, Ms. Karen, that it's like I go to bed and it's just like there's 1,000 thoughts going through my head. Like when I wake up, I want to do this. When I want to do that, I got to call this person. Or I got to send this email out. I got to do this. I got to do that. And it's just like sometimes you just never go to sleep. Your mind's just racing.
Exactly. But what you got to do is utilize your social media.
Right.
If you need help, hey, I need some interns to do my social media. I need interns to do emails. Utilize them. They're there. There are souls that are out there that want to bless you because they see what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about a little current event, Ms. Karen. You have a lot of wisdom, and I'm interested to hear your view on, just the state of what our communities are in right now. What's the state that, how is our current president affecting our communities, and how can we help our communities to deal with what's kind of going on right now in this country and stuff like that?
So our president, as much as he's a dum-dum, he is living the dream.
Right.
So I think as much as he brings negativity to the forefront, he's shaking up our community. Because the more you put us down is the more we're going to rise above. And I feel like we've built a lot of entrepreneurs in the last few years because he's in office. And he's so dumb, he doesn't realize that he's really inspiring us. But our community, we have those people that are kind of like crabs in a barrel. When you start something, they want to tear you down or bring up things from the past. People have to wake up. They have to wake up and they have to understand we have to make a change now. If we don't make a change now, we're going to lose our community. We're going to lose our kids. And people got to get out and just vote. They have to vote. Gentrification is taking over.
Absolutely.
And they are coming in droves. They don't care. They're trying to rule our schools, our community, our Black-owned businesses. We really have to take charge and buy back our community. We have to invest in our communities. We have to invest in ourselves. Reading is knowledge. If you want to find out, people keep saying, we can't afford these buildings. There are literally buildings out there that you can go out and purchase. Right, but people are not opening a book. They're not researching. And those little friends that you have, your little Jewish friends, your little Italian, send them in the office. Let them get that discount. But it can be done. But we have to wake up and take initiative.
Right. Economics is the thing that it's really starting to really kind of take over my thought process now, right? So, initially when I started, doing the working with kids and communities, you're just kind of at first just trying to help at-risk kids, right? I'm 43 years old, so I was thinking about just kind of like, okay, safe havens, get kids off the street so they won't get shot, killed, do this, do that. Times changed a little bit. Now you want to make sure that you're getting them educated and that you're getting all these things. But now, Ms. Karen, you touched on it a little bit. My thought process is more about economics now, right? And so and I started to think about my own economics of where I'm at, right? So I'm first generation American, you know. So my mother came here from Dominican Republic. My father came here he was Cuban. So I'm first generation of my family, right? And I noticed that in order for my future generations of my family, I have to start building wealth, right? I have to start building something that I can leave for the next generation to build on, and then for them to do the same thing and continue to do that and stuff. And so that message is so important for me now. To try to explain to Black and brown youth and families, like, you have to be able to try to do something. You have to open up a business.
Yeah.
You have to try to get some property. You have to do something for where you can kind of build your economics in order to be able to survive. Because to be honest with you, like, working full time isn't going to make it anymore.
Absolutely not.
Like, it's not. Like, we're not going to be around to be able to do it. We're not going to be able around to leave our kids anything. So it was important for me at a young age to, you know, through following the advice of my mother, to purchase a house, right? Like, I wasn't ready for it. You know, I was like in my mid-20s and stuff like that. But her advice was, you need to do this and stuff. So I had to figure it out. And just learning how to, you know, finances and put money in, like, in 401ks and stuff like that. You know, that message is so important. But how do we get that message out, Miss Karen? Like, it's so hard. Like, yeah, we could tell people, like, pick up this book, do this. But how do we tell them those things when they're just thinking about, I need to pay rent tomorrow. Like, I don't have money to save for no 401k. I don't have this. Like, how do we give them that message, Ms. Karen?
What I'm starting to find out and what I'm seeing from traveling around the world is start with the kids. When we start changing their mindset and teaching them about stocks, teach them about having a will, or even just eating right, when they go home, these kids will check their parents. Like, Daddy, do you have a will? Mommy, do you? The conversation will come up.
With the youth.
With the youth. But when we start with our youth, we have to empower them with the information. There are YouTube videos out there that we should be showing them, and try to encourage them. When they wake up in the morning, don't turn on the TV. Turn on YouTube. Put on Jay Morrison. Listen to what he's doing with real estate. Put on Eric Thomas and listen to some motivation to get you out the door. Once they start doing it and the parents start seeing a change, they'll start, Mr. Leo, what you doing to my kids? They talking about getting life insurance. You know, can we sit down and do something? And just have that forum, as you say, get it started no matter where it's at. It could be your living room, the barbershop. We just have to get that information
And once we spark that thought process, then now attach the resources to that, right? Like, once they do come in and say, hey, Mr. Leo, my child did come in and ask about health insurance. What should I do? Or life insurance. Okay, well, you know what? Let's call this person up. You know, this person works well with, you know, low-income families and this and that. And so we can start to kind of bridge those gaps and stuff. Absolutely, you know, and I think that's an important step that many people need to start doing. I think even schools and everybody needs to start educating families and kids, not just about passing an exam, but about preparing themselves for life and for what they're going to be facing financially when they reach. Because, Ms. Karen, like, even getting a bachelor's degree these days, when you think about the average person that graduates with a bachelor's or a master's is in like $60,000 to $80,000 in debt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're graduating with this degree, but you're in a hole. You're in $100,000, like, and that's the low end of it. You have people that's in like $300,000 in debt coming out, you know. So you're already coming out with in a hole. Like, how can you build generational wealth when you're going to be probably paying this back for the rest of your life?
Exactly. That's why in our homes, we have to let these parents know there is millions, billions of dollars out there in scholarships for our kids, but you have to help your child to do their homework. Get some rest, show up to school, get A's, stop with the D's and the C's, and let's excel. When they see, I'm telling you, it's millions of dollars out there for a right-handed child, for a child that comes from a family that migrated here in a certain. My parents are from Trinidad and Grenada. Money was out there. You get money for your religious background.
Right.
But when they know this and we give them those tools, they'll invest a little more. But what's crazy with our community, they don't show up unless it's free or food. So if we have to, we put a twist to it. Tell them it's a party, and boom, we hit them with the information.
Right. No, and I learned that working and just following the path of Jeffrey Canada, right? So Jeff used to always say, we have all these programs, but I got to give something away for they to come in.
Right.
So when he started baby college, the hook was, you come in, we give you free Pampers.
Yeah.
And Similac, back then those things were very expensive, right? And so that was the pull. You come in, you do those things, we give you that stuff. And so definitely that's a blueprint that I really definitely took from somebody like Jeffrey Canada.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you have to understand, me being a mother of 6, even though I was married and I had a partner, it was hard. Mm-hmm. So when you hear somebody say, "Oh, free food," all you're thinking is, "Ooh, I don't have to cook tonight. I get to sleep. The kids can go run around and have fun." And by the time that's how we have to think of things.
Right.
So no matter what you're setting up, it has to have a plan that's going to be conducive for the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the things, kind of, I don't know if you heard, or kind of, I know you've been traveling a lot, but there's been something in the news that kind of impacted me a little hard when I heard it. And it was this kind of FBI investigation that came out about these wealthy families that have been paying for
I saw that.
their children to get into these prestigious colleges, and the investigation and the details of it was just heartbreaking to hear, right? Mm-hmm. Because from 2 levels for me, Ms. Karen, like I'm a father, I have 2 sons, my oldest is 15, so we're going to be starting this whole process up of looking for colleges soon and everything, but it starts way earlier than that, right? So you're on top of your, the child, you get good grades, we got to get these A's, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to work hard, we have to do all this, and then to hear that people that are already wealthy and way ahead of us as far as advantages go, they're still cheating to get ahead of us and stuff, like that was heartbreaking. And then for me, somebody that has kind of like taken on this position of trying to help my community and underserved and low income people, to hear that they're still getting a raw deal, right? Because you have things like affirmative action and kids that are trying to get into these colleges, but then they're losing spots to people that are paying to get in, people that are paying for their children to get higher SAT scores and things like that. And Ms. Karen, that was heartbreaking for me to hear. It was so impactful and stuff, on many levels. It was.
It's disgusting. And the sad part is they're going to get off.
They are.
And next week it's going to be all good.
Yep.
They went as far as to take pictures of their kids doing these sports that they never did.
And they never played the sport in their life.
My kids have been playing sports since they were 6. And there were coaches coming out to see them when they were 8.
That's right.
And I'm standing there like, my kids are not on an auction block. They're here having fun and they're learning the basics and they'll be great. But for somebody to have money and pay their way, and then you didn't even sit through the test.
Right.
And our brown brothers and sisters, first of all, we got to find money for the SAT. And then your parents got to get you to whatever site, which is usually out of your area.
Yep.
And then we have to bus back and forth, get on the train, 3 trains before. And you have millions. All you have to do was study. But you bribe somebody to get your child in? Disgusting. I love that they're pulling all their business, though.
They have to.
But to say, oh, the kids can get off because they didn't know what was... No, you knew what was happening. You sat in that crew boat, took a picture like you were on the crew team, never even...
You never picked up anything. You come on.
So unfair. So they took up seats that our kids could have been sitting in.
Absolutely. And that's what was so troubling to hear and stuff. And, and let me tell you, Ms. Karen, I sat my son in front of CNN when they was talking about it. And I was like, you see? I was like, you see why I push you so hard? You see why I'm telling you that we have to work hard, we have to do this? Now look at that, and now we got to go even harder now. Yeah. Because people cheating. Yeah. Because people taking up spots that you trying to work hard for to get and stuff like that. And, it was tough for him to see that. Like as a 15, 16-year-old, you're looking at it like, yo, that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair. Why is the world like that, right? So... it's tough. And just seeing it was just heartbreaking, like you said.
And it's going to change the trajectory of your son's life now.
Yeah, I hope.
Because no matter what, he knows he has to work harder than the next man.
Yep.
But then he's going to be sitting there like, did you cheat to get this
Exactly.
seat? You're always going to have that in the back of your mind. But at the same time, he's going to be focused enough that nobody could say they gave you anything. He worked hard for his. Because my son, I only have one son, and he's the youngest. And he went to college. Before he left for college, I told him, my son, when you go to school, stay focused. Don't hang out with the knuckleheads. Find the person that's the smartest person in your class. And then I had to give him that speech of, if the police pulls you over, put your hands straight up. Don't answer them. The next thing I know, Thanksgiving time, he's coming home for his first home visit from college. They pulled him over, pulled him out the car, mistreated him. It just changed his whole life. That my son wasn't that innocent person that left home and went to college. Now he knows this is real.
Yeah,
the color of my skin.
World,
it was a wake-up call.
The world's judging me differently.
Yes. Because when I'm telling him, he's like, "You always extreme.
Yeah.
You're
Like,
exactly,
Mom, chill. You in the civil rights,
that's
Mom.
Exactly,
Chill, Mom.
exactly. And for him to have to go through that, go into handcuffs, and feel that, the anger that was there, I just had to tell him, you got to flip that in your head. Don't take it out on everybody. You just got to be great from here.
Right. You know, Ms. Karen, when the election happened a few years ago and, you know, Donald Trump won, one of the messages I've been kind of putting out there, and it's just why I just think there's this wave coming, and I feel like the women are going to set this right.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been putting things out there, and I've been telling people, even before this wave of new senators got elected, I told them, I said, there's going to be a change. You know, the women have been knocked down for too long. They've been oppressed for too long. And I think this presidency has woken up a sleeping giant.
Yeah.
And so, Ms. Karen, I see you as part of this wave now, right? So there's, you know, I see you on this grassroots level of this wave that's kind of like starting to come over in the next few years. That's going to really change politics, communities, schools, everything and stuff, you know, with the TED Talks that you do and all of these things. How do you feel? Do you feel empowered? Do you see the future bright? How do you feel being a part of that wave, Ms. Karen?
I feel so empowered because what I do is something unique, but everybody needs it. And I've helped some politicians to plan out, this is how they're going to run from a vision board. And when you visually see how great your future can be, everything's about to change. These women are shaking it up. Like, I'm not trying to buy a house. I'm trying to buy a community.
Right.
You know, we think bigger. It's not thinking small. Oh, I'm going for a seat, but I'm not going for just a district seat. I'm going for the mayor. I'm going to be president one day. That's how we're thinking. You know, if you're going to be a mother, I'm the community's mother.
Right.
That's how we think. It's not a lobo. And Trump, I can't even call him President Trump. He's ridiculous. President Obama and Michelle Obama, they showed us that it can be done, and they did it classy. You're talking about two educated, no scandals.
None, except for the tan suit,
right?
The
tan suit. The tan
That's
suit.
what they said was his scandal.
Oh, yeah,
tan suit.
or her arms are out.
Right.
Come on now. Let's get it real. But they showed us the example of, like she said, when they go low, you go high. And we're just going higher.
That's right.
We're just going higher. And these politics, these women, Latinas, and black women from all over, we are showing them that we can do it. We did it before. We were just behind the scenes pushing these men to these offices.
That's right.
Now we're telling them, have a seat, take care of the kids, and we're coming.
Yeah, we're coming to make some changes.
Exactly. If you got Serena, who can play tennis and be pregnant, go home, cook a dinner, come on now.
Absolutely.
We can do anything.
Absolutely. So, Ms. Karen, what's next? Like, what should we be looking out for? When can we tune in again? I know you've been asked to come back to TED Talks, and when can we expect that? Like, what's next? Like, I'm sure we're gonna have listeners that saying like, no, I need to follow her. Where's your social media at? Like, give them all the information, Ms. Karen.
So my social media, I'm working on it. I'm not a social media person, but I have a young millennial team. Vision Vegan Soul. The Instagram has just started, so it's giving you tips on how to do an action board. It also has a section on tidbits on how to be a vegan, simple ways to be a vegan. And then the Soul is me promoting businesses that are coming out to help our community. And I'm working on a book, a children's book, which is going to be dope. It's called Vision of Me, Who Do You See? So it caters to our children. Right. They're going to see themselves in this book, and I'm excited about that. It's going to be a 50-city tour, so I'll be all over. Also, I have Sneaker Ball, which is where you dress up in your gowns, you come with your sneakers, and we network. It is the best of the best vibe ever. So if people go to Vision Vegan Soul, they'll see the info there. They'll see upcoming events. And I'm just excited. TED Talks is coming again it's in California. And I'm going to be going into one of the prisons. They're doing an experimental TED Talks. And I'm going to be speaking to the inmates about action boards. And I tell everybody, it's not about your present situation. It's about what's going to happen in the future. So you got to dream into the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Ms. Karen, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I know you've been traveling. You don't know how much this means to me, the team, everybody, the listeners, for you to take your time and come in and meet with us, on our podcast and present this message. It really does mean a lot, Ms. Karen.
Well, I'm so honored to be in your presence because you are Mr. Leo. Yes.
No, this message is too powerful. I had to make sure that when I was getting together this Phenomenal Women's episodes, I was like, Ms. Karen has to be one of these guests.
Well, can I just tell you something? What you're doing right now in your community, I see it coming tenfolds. Your school is going to come. You're going to have a building, and it's not going to be something you buy out of your pocket. The community is going to give it to you. I promise you. You surround yourself with the right politicians and the right parents, they're going to give you a building. You just keep doing what you're doing. Keep surrounding yourself. The law of attraction is going to come to you.
Thank you, Ms. Karen.
Yes, I'm speaking it into existence.
From your words to God's ears, Ms. Karen. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for listening again. This is our first episode of the Phenomenal Women episodes. Just stay tuned. We'll have this up soon. Thank you again. Keep liking our channel. Please put in your comments and everything. Keep the energy going, and we'll continue to match it. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night. Take care. Bye-bye.